We're on.
Yeah, it's about time, man.
You have a new name.
Crush. You know who Crush is?
Well, there's a lot of crushes. Crush Davis.
You guys still paying him?
Well, yeah,
How much you
probably
think Crush Davis made?
near 200 million. Isn't that crazy?
Wow, we're in the wrong business, man.
Where there's two schmucks in here talking about him.
Two schmucks. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that's
us.
the welcome to Hobby Think Tank. We're two schmucks. We'll sit here and talk.
Yeah, right, right.
What's up, buddy?
Good. You know, I just talked to adults in high places all day long. So talking to you is making me smile because I'm sick of talking to people that should know better but don't. You know,
I am neither an adult nor am I in a high place, so I
I'm
fit
with you.
the
I'm with
word.
you, man.
Well, to prove it, I mean, I couldn't have made you couldn't have teed me up any better. I'm literally having a cup of chocolate milk for dinner.
Is that Ovaltine or is that some sort of?
No, this is the real Hershey syrup.
Oh, good for you, man.
Yeah.
Sometimes when I'm out of Hershey's, which is all the time, but when I'm getting low, I'll put the bottle in there, squirt or suck the milk back into the bottle, shake it up, and then get that last bit of
I know
chocolate out of there.
exactly what you're talking.
Yeah, man. Do the suction, get it in there, shake it, and
Yeah,
put it
I
back.
unscrew and will knife that last.
And if I'm real desperate, I get the hacksaw out, cut it in half, and then scrape the chocolate that didn't make it out in. So that's I do like Ovaltine though. Ovaltine's great. You have dry Ovaltine that you put in, and then you have the wet Ovaltine that sits at the bottom for your entire thing, and then you
I don't like the
mainline that at
powdered
the end.
chocolate for the chocolate milk either. It's got to be the Hershey's.
Oh, okay. You're
Yeah,
probably closer to Hershey than I am. We're probably about the same distance away right now.
yeah.
Chocolate
Um,
Town.
so we're gonna think tank chocolate milk tonight.
Chocolate milk's good. You
Yeah,
can't argue with that,
it
Robert
is.
Calderon. Kiss my butt.
Um, you know, it took me a second on that one. You can tell I've had a long day. Bob, we
Good.
love you. It's a new
Yeah.
subject this week.
Yeah. New subject, same old hosts.
Yep. We were going to talk about accolades that players can win, and do we care, and does it affect value? Because every time somebody gets into the hall or doesn't get into the hall, we talk about metrics. But when you start talking about cards, you talk about Super Bowls, World Series, MVPs, whatever it might be. And do they matter? Do we care? Is it going to metrics also?
Well,
Where,
it's
where are
it's
you?
different generations. Although I will say that in different sports as well. Um, look at Brady and then look at Mahomes, right? You know, how many Mahomes have now? 3, is it? 2 or 3?
Yeah.
He's in the stratosphere of quarterbacks. Um,
Well, Brady's on a different. I mean,
he
Brady.
is, but and the reason I bring that up though, it's a recent it's contemporary. Whereas I have this thing where it doesn't matter how many championships a Dave Winfield would have won, or Robin Yount,
Yeah.
or even George Brett. I mean, other than the 75 card, nobody really cares about George Brett. But
But
like
if I say Dan Marino, what's your first thought?
a great quarterback, but I saw Dan Marino in his prime. But you might not remember him that well because he didn't win the championships, right?
Well, I followed him a little bit with Clayton and Duper, but
And look at Elway though. Elway was the guy who couldn't win
until he did.
until he did at the very end, right? He's a guy who lost 3 Super Bowls, I think,
Yep.
in the mid 80s, and he didn't. It wasn't until the late 90s that he finally got his. And collectors wise, he probably doesn't get his due, but in the in the cred field, in the around the water tank, uh, the water cooler, he didn't get that until he won those last 2. And there's no shame to having lost three Super Bowls. Jim Kelly lost 4, right?
Well, on talent alone, is Montana as good as his value is?
No, but Montana was his generation's Brady, though.
Right.
And let me ask you about uh, man. I just had an example, but you threw Joe Montana at me. Anyway, we'll have to get back to that. But there's examples of players that didn't win, and that next step might have given them the elite status, that they deserve. So
How about Ernie Banks?
hold on a sec. You all right? Oh, okay. Give me a minute. All right. He's going to show me his shoes. Uh, well, is Ernie Banks any different than
Would he carry more value?
Willie McCovey didn't win one, right? Who are all those other guys back then? I don't know. I don't know though, man, because Ernie Banks' biggest crime was that he played with Hank Aaron and Willie Mays and Willie McCovey.
And he moves to first base.
No, I don't know about that, man, but like Chicago, like it's just weird because he was part of a group of absolutely incredible baseball players that came up around the same time. So that's a problem. I don't know if anything would have changed for him. Look at a guy like Brooks Robinson. Is his status elevated because he did win 2 championships?
Well, he has a lot of accolades. It's the All-Star games, which, by the way, there used to be 2 a year, which is why a lot of these guys have
Hank
so
Aaron
many
had a
All-Star
ton of them.
games.
Yeah, for sure.
I realize a lot of people don't know that.
Right.
So yeah, Brooks had 20 some All-Star appearances and 2 MVP, or 1 MVP, a couple World Series. He made his bones in the 70 series.
You just said bones, so we know where you're from. But with that, the reason I bring that up is Baltimore is a small market team, right? Yeah. Ernie Banks played for, in theory, a large market team that didn't win. So, I think some people would elevate Robinson maybe above Ernie Banks because Ernie hitting 500 home runs is that to me is like winning 15 Gold Gloves. That's no easy task, man.
So who would you pay more for? Brooks rookie versus Banks rookies, similar condition.
Well, that's tough because the 54 set I think is a little more legendary, wouldn't you say? And part of that is, Aaron Banks, K-line. That's a special set. Nothing wrong with the 57 set. It's not my favorite, but it's
one of my favorites. You know that.
Yeah, but it's part of a 54. I think has a lot more. We look at 54, look at the big 3, and
the white is kind of cool.
What's that?
The background on the Banks.
Oh yeah. So that, I mean, it's tough to compare that because I don't think it's apples to apples. I always say we run into an issue where so many good players came up at the same time in the 70s and the 80s, but their value is, Cal Ripken's got more value than Yount or Molitor. Is he any better than them?
Definitely better than Yount
and
Molitor.
Who won more championships? Was it Molitor?
Well, Cal's got the one. Molitor has what, 2?
I'm not sure where he was or when he was where, but I know he won one with the Blue Jays, right? I have his computer right in front of me. I could probably check it out. But, championships don't necessarily, Cal has a record that nobody else has or will break, right?
Well, we're talking about accolades. Do MVPs matter?
Do Cy Young or do Cy Youngs matter?
Absolutely a great question.
Because, and that's era driven as well, because did anybody win more than Clemens? And I know what other things Clemens has hanging from him, but, Sandy Koufax and Vida Blue kind of did almost the same stuff when it comes to accolades, right? What did Koufax? Koufax, obviously better pitcher, but Koufax won an MVP, won 3 Cy Youngs, right?
Over how many years? I mean, that's part of it.
Well, that was a short amount of time, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not comparing Blue to directly to Koufax, but Vida Blue also, won a lot more he won a Rookie of the Year, I think, right? Maybe
Well,
he
is
did.
this
No, he
this
won the
was
Cy
the
Young, the MVP, and 3 World Series. So I thought he won the Rookie of the Year, but that's not the case at all. But anyway, it's like Vita Blue did a lot in a very short period of time, and still, he doesn't get any love in the hobby,
no.
even though he's got 200 wins and 3 rings and all that stuff. So, um,
But what accolades matter then? Is it the Cy Youngs? Is it
what
the
do you
World
think about when you think about Frank Robinson? What's the first thing that pops in your head? Seriously.
if I'm not being a Baltimore, if it's not a Baltimore thought, I think of 500 home runs.
Okay. What do you think about with Kari Yastrzemski?
Probably the hot streak he went on at the end of the what was
Triple
it
Crown. Okay,
67?
that's
Right.
I think of the Triple Crown. I mean, I'm a Yastrzemski collector. It's ironic that Robinson won a Triple Crown the year before Yastrzemski, but for many decades, people associated, or a half a century, people associated the Triple Crown with Carl Yastrzemski, even though they did it back to back.
Well,
Cabrera,
because
does it matter? Does it
well, it
is it
was right before they changed the mound, so you had triple crowns with batting averages of 306.
301 and stuff like that?
Right.
Yeah, but I'm still like, the Triple Crown's a Triple Crown,
Did it
and
do anything for Miguel Cabrera?
that's what I'm saying. It's like that's era driven, but it's ironic that Robinson wins it in 66 and you think of 50 home runs or 500 home runs. Yastrzemski, the first American leaguer to have 400 home runs and 3,000 hits, we think of him as, a Triple Crown winner for the most part. At least many people would.
Yeah.
Cabrera, dude hit 500 and 3,000 hits, and, does his needle get moved at all when he retires? It barely moved, right?
Well, we just named three guys, and was the Triple Crown the highlight accolade of all their careers or not?
Um,
I mean, what's a bigger deal? An MVP multiple times? Two,
well,
three,
I mean,
four.
if you're going to win the Triple Crown, you're probably going to win the
No, but I'm saying
MVP.
two, three,
Yeah,
four MVPs.
yeah.
Is that a bigger deal? What's the ratio there? Is it one Triple Crown equals two MVPs?
Hard to tell because back in
Or
the old
conversion rate?
days, like way back in the day, you only one player from a what was it? You can only one player from a team could be nominated for an MVP. So Ruth and Gehrig couldn't be nominated in the same year. So that well, that doesn't translate to modern stuff. But I don't know, Danny. I don't know. I couldn't name you an MVP from the last 10 years. Probably Mike Trout, but I couldn't name
Well,
you an MVP from the last 10 years.
he
So
was going to be my example. If he had no accolades, no MVPs, however many All Star games, does he have the same value?
people think of WAR though,
Well, that's what I'm saying. So, are we
right?
switching to metrics over accolades?
Yeah. I don't know, man. Maybe it's a generational thing, but Shohei and Trout and what else is there? What else is there now for a veteran, a 10-year, 5-10 year veteran to accomplish? Because it seems like the money goes towards the prospects or prospecting these days.
Well, do you think that there's more first time All Stars than there used to be? It seems like every year now we have 30 new first time All
I
Stars.
don't know. I don't follow that. And that sounds dumb. I do get a chuckle that so many people are bent out of shape that they're not wearing their uniforms, and I
Yeah.
kind of agree. Like that's how the All-Star game was played in my day, and most people's day is wearing their own uniforms. That's the only thing I ever see with All-Stars, other than the Phillies uh, getting so many in this year. But I don't pay attention to the All-Star game or the home run derby or anything like that. So do you think the home run derby is an accolade because it shows up on Baseball Reference now, right? Is that something that moves the needle for
It's a great
collectors?
question. It's a great question.
And there's
I'm-
no equivalent to that for the pitchers, right?
There's not, and not only that, it affects video games, which has a huge impact
Right.
on a lot of kids on who they collect.
I finally remembered what I was going to talk about, what I was going to ask
Yeah.
you.
Go back
Sorry.
to the intro.
Yeah, let's redo. What about this is probably a prime example, Charles Barkley, right?
Exactly.
right? He, you know, he didn't win it.
The
You know,
round mound to rebound,
yeah,
not
he
not
didn't win it, and he played his heart out every game and didn't win it. And his value, I think, for the most part, is rather underwhelming when it comes to. Well, then again, a lot of the basketball players from that era are because they made so many cards, right? But
well, but I mean, we get into the argument on the '86 Fleer set and that time period.
right,
But I'll say that Barkley is underrated overall as a basketball player because of the championships, and
okay,
partly because of his comedic.
yeah, but he's one of those guys now that's beloved, and
Yeah,
like he is as big a star now as he was when he was one of the best basketball players in the world,
but to
which is
your
crazy.
point, he'll never be one of the most, those quad auto cards.
Yeah,
He's never
yeah,
one of the top names you want to pull.
yeah,
You
for
know,
sure, man.
and he's a Hall of Famer.
A guy like Sean Kemp probably has more value than Charles Barkley, which is crazy, right?
Well, if you judge by children,
Children, exactly. Who
right?
has more children, uh, Barkley or Travis, or Kemp or Travis Henry? Do you think?
Sean Kemp, I thought had his own zip code. I'm not sure, but
He should have enough kids. That's probably why his value is so high because his kids,
the Kemps did not live near a pharmacy. That's all I can tell you.
the Kemps.
Yes,
It says here he's got two children, Sean Kemp Jr. and Jamin Kemp, but I think that
that is not true.
I don't think that that's quite accurate.
We
But
would call that, as Paul Harvey would say, and now the rest of the story.
says he's got 7 children with 6 different women. Okay. And this is Hobby Think Tank right here. If you want to prospect a baby daddy, let's go Travis Henry real quick. Let me hold on. This will be worth it.
Wait,
Trust
would this
me.
be an accolade?
This is an accolade, man. DNA tests are accolades. Henry was married once at age 19, woman 6 years his senior. He was engaged in 2009. Henry has fathered 11 children by 10 different women. Now, check this out. Here's
Wow.
the loophole, though. One, the woman that has 2 kids, they were twins. So technically,
Hey,
technically, he never had to go through it twice with the same woman. But anyway, that's he pays $170,000 a year in child support. So anyway, that's thinking, man.
I
Right?
mean, I guess you don't have to shovel your own car in
What
the
about
winter.
hockey players? Wayne Gretzky did it all. Lemieux did it all. Who is the hockey player right now that has the most Stanley Cups? Is it Crosby? Is
Well,
it
that's the whole thing. I think hockey, they want a well-rounded player.
okay? I mean, they do a lot of prospecting, right? The young guys right now are the big ones in the
Right,
sport.
Connor Bedard, and
Yeah.
I'm not a hockey
What
aficionado.
about Jason Tatum? Did his value go up?
It did not actually. I just read an article on that. He did not get
Interesting.
a. It did not get a bump.
Is there
Uh,
anything he hasn't done? I'm sure he's won an MVP, right?
he was on the list of guys who, by his age, had only so many championships, first team All NBAs by the age of 27. He was on a list with Hall of Famers, and
What
I mean,
about Dante DiVincenzo, who has won a Delaware State championship, a championship at Villanova, and a championship with the Bucks? Tell me where he stands in the annals of
you can probably get a good deal on the DiVincenzo cards.
the Big Ragu is a champion at every
Yeah,
level. I'm
very good.
afraid
Yeah.
to see what level he goes to next. And you know,
Well,
our,
but you brought up a good point. I mean, in all seriousness, every sport has absolutely different rules about this. I mean,
and eras, but yes, yeah,
and errors, absolutely.
right.
So NBA, definitely titles matter.
Um, yeah, right.
I
Curry is
think
a big
far
deal.
more.
Curry has cemented his place in the NBA history.
I don't think baseball World Series matter as much.
I don't
I think
think
they help
Altuve, right? How many has he won? 2 or 3?
a couple of them, yeah.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of guys. I mean, getting back to the Ernie Banks example, I don't think his value is significantly different than a Brooks, player to player again, even though Brooks has 2 World Series.
Um, yeah, I mean, Nolan Ryan won a World Series in his second year, first or second year pitching, and didn't win another one.
We
Didn't
don't
win
like
a Cy Young.
we don't
Didn't
like
win
to
a
talk
Cy
about the
Young.
'69 World Series.
What's that?
I don't like talking about the '69 World
Yeah,
Series.
come on. How many do you need though? You just had one in what, 66 and then
66.
71? Was that it?
We won 66, lost 69, won 70, lost
170.
71, and lost 79, won
You
83.
lost 71 to the Pirates, right? I
Yep,
got you.
and 79.
Well, there is a guy who, talk about Clemente, who wasn't the greatest hitter, wasn't the greatest fielder. I loved watching him field. I talked to Dr. Jim about this once. There's a guy who, if you're showing your kids how to play, you would not show them Clemente because he wasted so much energy swinging and throwing, but it all worked together. But he's a guy who won 2 championships with 2 different era teams. Wonder if that matters more, right? You can win in a dynasty, but
Sure.
a guy like Reggie Jackson, who was part of 2 dynasties, which is kind of rare, and
I think that's a huge point. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and Clemente is adored in the hobby, tremendously adored. And again, he hit 3,000 hits. We get it, and he always said he didn't want to hit for power. He wanted to hit for to help his team more than anything. But small market team, and I know the way he died is absolutely cemented his legacy, but he also did it on 2 different winning a championship on 2 different teams is something special, I think.
Well, is a dynasty an accolade?
Yeah, I
Being,
mean,
being
who a
a guy?
guy who gets a lot of flack is Jeter, right? And Jeter was, I don't care. You take him out and put him in, Detroit, whatever. You say that all you want, but he's kind of held that whole thing together, and he was part of a dynasty, right? And he was the glue that held that dynasty together, most would say.
I think Michael Young was a comparable bet.
Did he win? Michael
No,
Young win?
no.
He was in a couple World Series, I guess, right? At least one.
Yeah, but I don't think Texas won until
No, they
last
didn't. No, it was Ron
year.
Washington was the manager, right? Boy, I know a little bit about baseball.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there were better players. A-Rod was a
Uh,
better shortstop
so
than
dynasty
Jeter,
matters in
right?
baseball.
Yeah. But he's the one who is perceived as the face of those dynasties or that dynasty. So, like I said, Reggie is looked at as the face of 2 different dynasties, which is pretty spectacular. I don't know if there's
And
any other players that have done that. I mean, Jordan was part of 2 dynasties, but it was the
but
same
that added to
dynasty.
his legend. That added to
Yeah.
when you rate the greatest of all time, you say Jordan did it with 2 different teams, or
He
you know,
is. He is. And what about LeBron, who had to go everywhere to get his championships? And he
but he
is.
won it. He won everywhere.
Yeah, but he also was part of All-Star team. He had to become part of All-Star teams to do that, right? Miami was an All-Star
We'll
team
see, but
with Bosh and
but he
Wade,
went through
right?
so many teams. Some of them he was the guy. Some of them he had more help.
But he didn't win it by himself. And they could say the same thing about Jordan, but
But in the
it,
NBA, you're 20% of the floor at him.
he's on the floor 40% of the time. LeBron flopping, laying on laying on a big sweat ball on the floor. Do you think
Uh,
what's your perception of his legacy? I have a kid who's 26 or 27 soon, and LeBron is the best ever for him. I don't see it.
I don't know if I'm too old. He's not the best ever. He's not better than Jordan to me. But I can see easily top 5 player.
Was he better than Kobe? And Kobe crossed over quite a bit of his career. I mean, you can't
If you're gonna knock LeBron, Kobe played with Shaq for a long period of time.
yeah, but Kobe also didn't play with Shaq for a long period of time, right? And Kobe was the best player in the game after Shaq left, and that crossed over to
I think
LeBron's
Kobe's just
career.
under Jordan in that LeBron category. I'd put him
Yeah,
equal with LeBron.
I think history will be interesting with LeBron because, like I said, you have the Kobe era, then you have Curry, and then LeBron spans both of them. But And LeBron is a huge star. Don't get me wrong, but I feel like some of the shine has been taken off of that.
But to your point, he's done it over 20 some years.
He's an accumulator. They would call that an accumulator. They would say the same thing about Carl Yastrzemski, accumulator, right?
But are you if you dominate the entire time? I'm not talking about Harold Baines.
When's the last time he dominated?
Who, LeBron?
Yeah. Give me a decade.
I would
Were
say
your kids alive when he dominated?
yes.
All right. I don't believe you.
I know.
Think about a guy,
Go on.
right, who played with Elijah Wan and
Drexler?
Bird and Drexler and Barkley. No, I'm just saying, think about a guy that played in an era with all those guys. Jordan, Magic Johnson, and Bird, and even though they weren't at the top of their game, but the best of the best. And then your name's Michael Jordan. You're throwing up whatever 55 in a playoff game against the Bulls or against the Celtics all by yourself. Bill Cartwright is the second best player on the team. That's special to me. Like I think Kobe was great. I think Kerry was great. Glenn Wade was great. Dwayne Wade, whatever the heck his name is. Glenn Wade is a friend of mine. Dwayne Wade. I don't
Hi,
see.
Glenn. Shout out to Glenn.
Yeah, Glenn. I don't see anybody. I don't see. Maybe I'm just. I don't care, but I don't see anybody. I don't see LeBron head and shoulders above those guys. He was better than them at times, but
Do
I
not
don't
know
see
what type of shampoo he uses.
head and shoulders. Yeah. Well, it's not where in Garnett, right? Garnett was.
Well, that's what
a
I was
big
going to
deal for
say
a
is
while.
being one of the first couple successful high school guys to that next level of success.
Right.
I think adds something. There was
Yeah.
only Tracy McGrady. There's only a couple of high school guys that have made the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. Garnett is in.
Uh,
He will be if he isn't,
yeah,
but
I mean,
you would think he's in,
I
right?
thought he was already. It's got to be 5 years. Probably been 10 years.
Huh. You know who the first great high schooler
Moses
was?
Malone.
Yes, sir.
You know where he committed to, where he didn't go.
He was from Virginia, right?
Yep. The
So
Lefty Drizel era.
he was a Maryland guy, or
He committed to Maryland and
interesting,
then went
man.
pro. Yep.
I will tell you, and I've said this before, one of the great tragedies of the last 50 years is I saw this man play at Villanova. It was if Lenny Bias,
Oh,
imagine having, we talked about this, right? There would be two Michael Jordan. There would have been two Michael Jordans, which would have been crazy. You would have had your Kobe and your LeBron times two, man.
if somebody's listening or watching this and you are not familiar with Len Bias, go to YouTube.
I think we've talked about this because, like, watch those highlights,
right?
And you think you're watching Michael Jordan,
or the guy who could just shut down Jordan or keep up with Jordan.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's crazy,
unreal.
Man. Yeah, but here's a guy who had no cards. But is he the most legendary basketball player ever with no cards? I'm not sure, but
there's a whole generation who has no idea who he is.
And remember, what was that, 85 or was that 86?
86.
So think about that. And then Fleer comes out in 86, 87. The hype we would have had today with, he would have had cards on his AAU team, right? But, no cards, obviously, because the Fleer set didn't come out till that fall anyway. And would he have been on that set? That's another amazing little thing to think about, huh? He probably would have been in that set.
I don't remember, and I'd have to go back on how they did draft picks.
What do you mean?
If he would have been drafted the year of the set.
Probably. Well, we got to remember, though, also that, there was no 84, 85 Fleer set or 85, 86 set. But this shows you how much I've been dealing with stupid things all day. I keep forgetting stuff. But it would have been 1 year. If we had gotten 1 year out of that guy on a set of trading cards, it would have been incredible. And I think that we'd have to look at it because most of the big time players in that set come from the 82, 83, 84 kind of draft classes. I think Ewing was in 85, right? So he was in that set too. So,
and I'll throw this out there: one of the great accolades of all time, the '92 Olympic basketball team.
Yeah, but let's get back to Lenny real quick because Lenny didn't win anything, right? Didn't win anything, and still he's thought of as a legend. And if he had a card, They would have
Well,
been a
you
huge
say
player.
that, but to what I was saying before is I think a lot of people don't even know who he is. If he had
Yeah,
one rookie of the
yeah,
year season, one rookie of
yeah,
the year,
right. Yeah,
it would
but
change it.
who? Well, I don't know. It's you can go down this road all you want, but it's that '92 team had who? Leitner was on that team.
Well, Leitner was the required college pick or
Who
whatever
was the
they
coach? Was it Krzyzewski or was it somebody else?
Chuck Daly.
Chuck Daly. That's right, man. Good one.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I
they
forgot
don't. They
about that.
don't. I haven't had hair like that since third grade.
He's a Philly guy at one point, I think. Yeah.
He looks like he's a Philly. If he's not, he should be.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think I borrowed money from him once. Yeah.
That's hysterical.
Yeah.
Uh,
Again, we didn't solve anything, but it's you can have a fine career, and Ernie Banks cards are worth money. I mean, the 1954 Ernie Banks is legendary card,
I'm
right?
not criticizing the value.
Yeah,
I
he
think
doesn't
most
need any
cards.
more. Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's error driven too, because a lot of those guys, Sandberg and all those, they have maybe a good card, Tony Gwynn, Boggs, but it's tough when everything was so oversaturated to stand out anymore. And I don't know when the last standout athlete we had, I guess it was Jordan, and maybe it was LeBron. I don't know, but you can have a Mount Rushmore of that hobby gods in the last 30 years, and probably Brady, Jordan. Is LeBron a big deal in the hobby world? Or is
A
a
little
Steph
bit.
Curry RPA even worth just as much?
I think LeBron is bigger than Curry.
Right. Trout rookie's a big deal, right? Still, I assume.
Trout. I mean, I think they're down because of his injuries.
Right. Well, he's done. I mean,
Yeah,
we have to come to terms, a hobby, wherever that card
but
settles. Where do you
well,
think
the
that card's
price
going to
is
settle?
going down.
What's it at right now? What's a 9 or an 8 of that card right now? Probably $500, $600 maybe.
So
It can't be
something
in
like
four
that.
figures anymore, right?
Oh no.
Yeah. But it'll settle, and then that's where it will live forever, and then, until the Hall of Fame debate begins, and I'm sure
He's
uh
a Hall of Famer.
yeah, I'm sure. I mean, that'll start, that'll be bigger news than when he announces a retirement in November this year. It'll be immediately more ink will be spent on the Hall of Fame debate.
I don't like people who say it, and I can't believe I'm going to say it before we go. But Mike Trout's probably not a bad buy right now.
Will that help his cards though? Because
I think it'll rebound from where it is now. I think right now is about as low as he's going to be.
I find that. What about Cabrera? Are his cards going to go up in the next couple of years?
I don't know because
Right.
he was multi-city. He had a
Yeah.
lot of slow years at the end.
And Detroit is where else did he play? Was it Florida?
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, they aren't big. I mean, Detroit is a legendary baseball town, but it's still kind of a sleepy town when it comes to the collecting
yeah.
world, right? So,
So anyway,
all right,
we did a think tank.
we talked a lot before, so we're tired before we record.
We did a good hour. Yeah.
All right,
Um,
catch that on the outtakes and the B sides and the box set and all that stuff. In the
it's the
future.
extended release director's cut.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm sure I got about 30 things wrong, so don't forget to leave a comment. Tell me how much of a student I am, and appreciate everything.
all right. And to Bob, look forward to it, buddy.
Kiss my ass, Bob. See ya.
See ya.